Varmt välkomna till Aktiekvällen här i Stockholm. Vi har en hel del spännande bolag här som ska presentera. Och första bolaget är från Irland och då får vi nog helt enkelt öva vår skolengelska, för det kommer vara på engelska helt enkelt. Och det är Brendan och Rawdon som ska berätta mer om det. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I've got 20 minutes to tell you about Zutec, so I'll get right into it because there's a lot to say. Zutec, I'm going to go through the offering at the end, actually, in fact, but the investment case, the company, the opportunity, the financial overview, and I'm going to summarize and then go to the offering. So, what do? We solve a problem in the construction industry. The opportunity in construction is through the highly under-digitized market. There's a huge problem in construction. You know, the complexity of projects is growing all the time, but construction is not keeping up with that demand. Digitization is the answer to it. There's an uncontrolled information exchange within construction as well. People are sharing information through email, WhatsApp, word of mouth, on paper. That's a problem in construction. So we have solutions for that. We have seamless end-to-end cloud solutions. We have a class-leading sticky product. And by sticky, I mean people use it time and time again. If it's worked for them on one project, they use it on the next project. So it's quite sticky and it stays with people. And we're employed across the full building life cycle. So when you have a conception for a building, you design it, you build it, you commission it, and then you run it. And we're involved right up to demolition of that building. So we're across all the different time periods of a construction and a building, but we're also able to go in at just different stages. It doesn't have to be everything as well. We have a proven business. Zutec is profitable. We've had rapid growth over the last few years. It's employed on huge prestigious projects of a value of about 32.5 billion euros around the world at the moment. And it's a SaaS model with recurring revenue. So our sales model is SaaS, recurring revenue, software licensing. And we're ready to go. We're ready to take the next step. We're using the proceeds of our raise to expand our markets, expand our existing markets, expand into new markets. We will leverage our existing clients and our existing projects to do that. And we, of course, invest in research and development to continue to improve our current products and invest in new products as well. So a little bit about the industry. As you can see up here on the left, efficiency eludes the construction industry. It's an Economist article. Productivity has plummeted since the 1960s in construction. A lot of that, in my opinion, is down to health and safety, building control, building regulations, all positive things, worker welfare, for example, but they do slow down construction. You can't just put more people on site and work faster. So the way to get around this is digitization. So you can see, you know, there's articles in McKinsey about imagining construction's digital future, the transformative power of BIM, building information modeling. There's a whole zeitgeist around construction at the moment about growing that digital asset that you build along with a building. On the right-hand side, there's a McKinsey report which shows that construction is the second least digitized industry, only ahead of agriculture and hunting. So it's got a long way to go. So there's a huge opportunity for us in that market at the moment. We've worked on some very prestigious projects. You can see there, you know, you've got Wembley Stadium in the top left, Sheikh Zayed University in Abu Dhabi in the middle, the Cleveland Clinic on the top right, the Shard in London. You know, every bit of asset data on the Shard is housed and managed within Zutec. The Dublin Airport Terminal 2, it's you know, one of our home ones. The Sidra, this is a stem cell research center in Qatar, this one here. We're working with some old buildings as well about using, when they're doing them up, to use the processes we have within our system to help them manage the workflows and to make sure that everyone is accountable and everything is auditable and everything is transparent within the process. So what's our strategy and what are our goals? Sales and marketing. We need to expand into North America and Scandinavia. We will leverage our existing clients and existing projects. One of our largest clients have just hit the North American market. We will be going with them to the North American market, which means we don't have to have a cold start in North America. We can actually go in with a large client already. That lowers the cost of entry, lowers the risk for us, and it's a big part of what we're going to do. We can use partnerships, resellers, value-added resellers. We will do that. We're doing that currently in Italy and Spain. We'll do that in markets where language is a barrier. That's the way we see how we use those partnerships. And then, of course, there's our product. What's our product roadmap? Of course, we have to increase that stickiness. Stickiness is a real tech term to say that people just can't live without it. It becomes the #1 tool in their toolbox. That's what we want to do. We also want to move some of our products towards a platform systems where they can be sold on smaller projects to smaller contractors easily and online with less interface with our people, with our operations and sales teams, done online through online demos or just buying directly from the website. We will integrate with existing technologies such as BMS, which is building management systems, and IoT, so information of things. All of that is just data in construction. It doesn't matter what the data is. We like to house it, and we can connect to those external systems as well. One of the things we really want to look at in the next 12 to 18 months is a site communication tool. So if you take the average building site now, a lot of information is exchanged by word of mouth, paper, email, and even WhatsApp. So that information is being exchanged uncontrolled in a lot of ways. I think there's a big market for controlling that, taking it away from email and paper and more in an instant messaging platform, which we are currently developing. And we just, the big thing is we want to become a fundamental tool for our clients. At the moment we're so flexible. We build the product around each project and client. They can build it themselves. It's like Lego. They get the box and they build it up. They get the product they want rather than the product we tell them they need, which has always been one of our strongest points, selling points. So we are going to raise 50 million SEK. We're going to spend 70% of that on sales and marketing. Obviously, key hire is a big part of that. We need to bring in people who've scaled software companies globally before, some operations people, and working capital, because these big projects in the new region, it can take a while to get the invoicing ahead of after the work. So the working capital cycle can be quite long. And then, of course, product development will be 30% of it. We could fund this ourselves. As I said at the beginning, we've been profitable. We've had good growth. But at the moment, the market is ripe for companies like ours to take it. But there's other guys going to come into the market if we don't stay ahead of them. So that's why we're raising capital. It's not that we couldn't do it ourselves. It's to speed up that whole process. And really, we've got to stay ahead of this because it's becoming, as you saw from the articles, it's in people's mind now that construction needs to be digitized. So a little bit about where we sit. A lot of different companies sit in different parts of the life cycle of a building. We come in design, planning. We have an elevation tool, which is for managing your drawings. It's just an app we have. We have our 3D tools for visualizing your buildings in 3D, attaching to the data. We work in the project management area, so for closeouts, if you're working on any particular building, you've got to close out areas, make sure they're signed off. There's a project we're working on in Abu Dhabi where it took 21 days to close out a single piece of work in a room like this because there was 12 people who had to sign it off. And they each printed, signed, stamped, scanned, and emailed it to the next person. So 21 days. Using the our digital tools, it takes them 2 days. So they can get well ahead of their program and they know exactly where they are on program all the time. We know during construction, we manage on the defects, site diaries, any information that's collected on site, we help manage. And then, of course, all of that data that's collected is handed over to the client, the building owner, the asset owner. So they get a system from their contractor, which they can utilize immediately at handover. And we then enter a contract with them. We host all that data in our platform, and they use it on a daily basis right up to demolition. In theory, we haven't been around that long that we've been with demolished buildings. But in theory, when you are demolishing a building, you need to know any unsafe, it's not asbestos, but that kind of hazardous materials that may be there. You need to know about it, know what the systems to get rid of it are, what the hazards are. That is needed right up to demolition of the building. So somewhere like the Shard, we could be on that for 50, 60 years up until it's demolished or even longer. So that's a growing part of our revenue at all times. 95% of our current projects move into that hosting phase. So just a little bit about our products. There's 90 man years in development. It's data-driven, not document-driven. There's a lot of tools out there which are document management tools in construction. But once a drawing or a specification or any kind of information is PDF'd, it's now dead and it's out of date. So we manage data rather than documents. Of course, you need documents such as drawings. We manage them as well. But we push on the data rather than the documents in a big way. Used throughout the entire life cycle, as I said, desktop and mobile. We have our core system. The Zutec platform is a desktop cloud-based system. And there's 4 other apps feed into that. QR scanning is for simply just retrieving information. BIM is for visualizing in 3D. On-site app is for viewing or collecting data in the field. And the Elevation app is for managing and viewing drawings in the field on your iPad or tablet. Our business model. We target consultants, main contractors, developers, facilities managers. Anyone in that whole life cycle can be a client of ours. We don't have to have one to have the other. We can go straight in at each different level. We leverage our existing projects and our clients. You know, we have a great client list, a great project list, and we really leverage that. When I walk in, if I'm doing sales, walk in and say we worked on the Shard, Wembley Stadium in the UK, people immediately sit up and take notice. The current breakdown of income within the company is 70% software and 30% setup and management. So obviously there's a setup on these large projects which we have to do as well. But we're hoping to get that to 85-15%. So that's a big part of it, increasing the amount of our income that's from software and not people. Pricing really very much depends on region. You know, the pricing in Ireland or the UK or North America would be very different to the Middle East or the Far East, but we just have to react to that in the different regions. It's generally a percentage of the capital value of the project per month. As I said, it's a SaaS model, so it's a per monthly cost during the project, and then it goes into per monthly cost for hosting as well. Recurring and licensing costs after handover depends on users and building type. You know, if you have a large hospital compared to a housing estate, the hosting cost, because there's going to be more use, more data, will change as well. Setup costs, they're excluding our software license. They're outside of that. So just a quick look at some of our clients. You know, we have Bechtel, a large American company. They've done a lot of work in the Middle East where we've worked with them. You have Samsung C&T. We've done a lot of work with Samsung, South Korean company. We built Cleveland Clinic amongst others with them. Vinci, a big French company, we're working them with the UK. Multiplex are a large Australian company that they built Wembley. We've been working with them since that. But they are owned by Brookfield on the left. Brookfield Asset Managers are one of the biggest asset managers in the world. They're Canadian. They own just shy of 100 billion worth of buildings. And they're one of our clients as well. And you can see, you know, London Bridge Quarter, Qatar Foundation, Bouygues Construction. We've got a lot of very, very high-value clients. So just a little bit about the team. Myself, I've been with the company since 2011. When I came into the company, it was more of a project management team, project management tool that was set up for each different project. You know, it was a contracting idea. But I've wanted to change that this company to a software company where it's all based around license and recurring revenue. And the growth we've seen is down to that. Connor, who started around the same time as me, he's over here, our CFO. He came in with that idea as well of prudence within the financials, making sure that all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. I'm not sure if that's a Scandinavian saying, but it's what we say in Ireland. And making sure that we had the best chance to keep moving forward, like ensuring that we always had the cash in the bank, that we always had our working capital sewn up, and to make sure it gives us the best chance. Mike White, our CTO, he's not here today. He's been with the company since inception. So he manages a team of 11 people who build the products. And he's been, as I say, with the company since the very beginning. We also have Brian Maguire, who's our chairman and founder. He founded the company in the late 90s. It was a very different company then. It just managed PDFs on disk and things like that. Jerry Jones, an advisor to us, he's on our board. And Hans Schedden is from Stockholm, and he's on our board as well. We have 23 employees in Dublin, 11 full-time in R&D, and about 32 across the different regions. So the competitive advantage, the market, the construction data management market is about 1.7 billion euros per year, and the growth is huge. It's bigger than that, I think, but that's all we, it's a new industry, so it's hard to get exact figures. We have multiple revenue opportunities. We're on that entire building life cycle. We have class-leading software. It's data-locked documents. We can create bespoke products for large projects, which is obviously always going to be the case. We contain a SaaS model throughout the building life cycle. So at the moment, we operate in Ireland, UK, Italy, the Middle East, and Australia. And our expansion here is continental Europe, Scandinavia, and North America. Just some past financials. You can see our year end is June 30th. So you can see the growth we had between 15, 16, 16, 17. We invested a lot of money, you can see by the losses, into our product. And that investment, we are now seeing a return on that investment in the last year and the coming year. As of December 31st, 2017, we had 3.2 million in secured sales in the current year. So the growth is continuing. We have secured sales of 4.8 million up to 2021. The figures that, we've got to set up a Swedish holding company, so those figures are derived from the Irish company, but it all slots in underneath the Swedish holding company. Something I'll mention, and maybe in the questions, if you have questions about it, Connor could come up and explain it more. We have expensed all of our R&D, every single penny of it, which is 1.7 million over the last 5 years. The Irish government give us a grant tax credit of 25% of that back. So we've expensed it. Very prudent. Obviously, if we'd put that in as an asset, we could have increased our profits, but we've very prudent financial policies within the company. There's a slide here that I'm not going to go into, but we can come back to it if required. As I say, this just is a working example of how that R&D credit works and how the Irish tax system works. This company will be operated out of the Centre of Planning and Control, will be out of Ireland, so it'll be subject to Irish taxation law and not Swedish taxation law. And if during the questions we want to come back to that, we will. So just to summarize, why Zutec? We have a great product. It's sticky. It's across the entire life cycle. It solves real problems. We're not coming up with a problem and trying to sell that. We go in, we speak to our clients and find out what the problems are, and we solve them. My background is a construction engineer. I know the problems they've had. I worked on these projects before. We have great reference sites, recurring revenues, growing all the time. That hosting is growing all the time. We've had rapid growth, and we've maintained profitability, which is very positive, very proud of that. Our customer relationships will bring us to new markets. Those mega projects, they have teams that move around the world with them. The team, we have a great team, we have a very settled team. We have very low turnover of staff as well. We have engineering knowledge. Brian, who started the company, he's from the same background as me. It's construction engineering. We have experience in those large, complex projects, which we can bring to the smaller projects as well. We're backed by Enterprise Ireland, which is an Irish government agency which helps Irish companies export. And we're delivering verified safe places to live and work in. We're helping deliver better projects. I'm going to go back now, this is the end slide, but there's one more slide. So the offering. So what we're going to do as of the 19th of February is IPO in the Nasdaq First North. Our prospectus is now published. We're going to raise 50 million SEK, and there's an additional over-allotment of 15%. We've already secured all our cornerstone investors. So now we're on the retail roadshow. Our pre-money valuation is 120 million SEK, and the planned first day of trading will be the 15th of March. So I'm going to go back to the original end slide, and I'll open the floor to any questions.
All right, thank you, Brendan. Let's see. My first question was why do you choose Nasdaq in Sweden as your?
Well, it's very simple, really. We went looking for, how different ways to raise capital. We could have looked at the venture capital route, but we decided that a listing was the best way. The Irish stock market is very small with small liquidity, and it's generally for dual trading large companies. Traditionally, Irish companies would have gone towards the AIM in London, but just with Brexit uncertainties, we didn't want to necessarily go down that route. And on investigation, the Nasdaq brand is going to be huge for us. That will help us in the North American market. It will help us in the Scandinavian market. But also, what we've discovered very quickly is that Swedish investors are very tech savvy. They understand our product. They understand the problem we're trying to solve. So it's been we think we got the right investor profile in Scandinavia.
All right, and you spoke about your main, like your focus markets is going to be Scandinavian and North America.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about why?
Well, Scandinavia really, since we're here, we'll have a whole infrastructure set up here. It makes sense. The North American, obviously that's it's a huge market, and as I say, with one of our clients moving into that market, we can piggyback on them. We would have looked at it anyway, but it reduces the working capital cycle by up to a year, really. So we will look at that market, and they will spread throughout the North American region as well.
Are there any, we that are active in the construction market, is there any synergies, global synergies in how your product work? Can you take what you have here in Scandinavia and directly apply it on, say, North America, or you had some projects down in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, so the projects are, when you get into those large projects, they're the same the world over. They have the same problems. They all overrun. They all go over budget. And part of that, as I said, the Abu Dhabi airport, knowing early on where they're going to be late helps them tackle that. That's the same the world over. And we're helping tackle that problem, giving them an early warning system as such to see that they will be late or over budget. So that is transferable to any mega project, or anything, any large projects we're working on. The Doha Port, for example, it's a $15 billion project. That's a mega one. But they have airports, ports, hospitals. It's the same process anywhere in the world.
And you used the term stickiness a lot. I didn't really get it. Maybe some more here didn't.
Stickiness it's not a term I coined. I certainly wouldn't coin that term, but it is an industry term, like as a software industry term, a SaaS term, not in construction. And really, it just means that people want to keep using the product, and for them to change is harder for them to stay. So Connor, often when we were speaking to our cornerstones, he spoke about financial reporting systems. If you're reporting in a certain financial system, changing that would be a big problem. So you got to make sure that no one's going to want to have to change, and they're going to want to, as I say, bring us to the next project. There's guys out there who are they're tasked with completing these huge projects. They want to make sure that they have the tools that they want in place to do that, because the margins are quite small in construction. But so you lose 0.1%. That could be millions in some of these projects. So they want to know that they have the best tools in their toolbox, and they will make sure that we're on every project they work on.
And I figured it's the same for you. Like, it's hard to change someone's way to work. How are you going to attack this problem when you're getting new customers?
Well, that's very interesting, and we've faced a real uphill battle on that up until about 2014, 15. And I think the expectation, not just in construction, but in everyone's everyday life, is that they're using apps or online tools to order taxis, order food, whatever it is. People are used to it. So they expect that if they can find any information they want at home about where their taxi is, why can't they go to work on a construction site and find out exactly what size the window should be, or who installed the pumps, or whatever the case may be. So that the expectation that technology is available is running throughout all industries. And we see that changing a lot now. And every year the age profile becomes younger in construction as well, which helps. Yeah,
and you said like the construction industry was under digitalized, and I'm wondering it's not just you that have understood this. Can you tell us more about the competition out there for these kind of products?
Of course, I suppose in a very perverse way, the biggest competitor we have in the Middle East, particularly in mega projects, is pen and paper, because you can get cheap labor. But in the general construction, there are document management tools, a lot of document management tools for making sure you can share drawings, things like that. But the data management, there are a lot of different, there might be one tool to manage your progress monitoring, so seeing how far along your project you are. There might be another tool for managing your defects, to see what defects and closing them out. And there might be another tool for managing your drawings and another tool for communication. But we bring all that into one. So with our full suite, you know, the competition is nil or very little. But for each individual part, there are, you know, there's different companies out there, but they only solve one problem. And our flexibility to say, here it is, if you have a process, you can build our system to work around that process. That's what really brings us to, what brings our clients in and makes them continue to use us, because they have ownership of the product. It's the one they built, you know, so it's yeah, that really stands to us.
How do the revenue stream look like? You're going to take it, you use a yearly fee, or how do you get your revenues from your clients?
Yeah, so it's during a construction project, or if it's say a consultancy firm, an engineering consultancy, an architectural consultancy, they pay a monthly fee for the length of the project. If the project runs over, they continue to pay it. If it's in hosting, it's an annual fee paid quarterly generally. But yeah, and they sign up on maybe a 5-year agreement, but it goes on, as I say, when you're just hosting that data, they don't change it. They use it on, you know, the Wembley Stadium, for example. They use that every day, and it was finished in 2007. So, you know, they need that information. The maintenance guys, if, you know, on some of the big assets, the big commercial buildings, they sell them. You know, the buildings are for sale, so there's due diligence done. And all the service data and everything is held in Zutec. So the due diligence by the banks is actually part of the check is through Zutec as well. So in comparison to what it could cost, the hosting fee is very small. So it just continues to go.
And also, you're going to use some of your millions now to further develop your products.
Yeah.
How finished are you with your product? They are completely done now, or are you just going to top it? Like,
well, yeah, I don't think there's any product that's finished. You know, in anything, they're always improving. You know, you've got to improve your user experience, continue to do that. So the existing products we have will always be updated. You know, we did our 100th release back in November of our main product. So that will continue to go 2 or 3 releases a year. But there will also be new products, such as the site communication tool, which there's no one else doing. So we're quite excited about that, connecting all that data and making it easily shareable between people on site. I think that's quite an exciting product we're looking at the moment.
All right. Är det någon i publiken som har frågor här till Brendan, så kan ni ställa dem. Jag kan översätta om man inte vill ta det på engelska, det är vilket som.
I assume now that you're coming to Nasdaq Stockholm that you've been in contact with the larger Swedish construction companies like Skanska, for instance. I didn't see them as a client on your list. What has their reaction been? Do they have their own system?
I have to repeat it for
That's
the
fine,
viewers.
yeah.
Like the question where why, maybe I can do it a little bit generalized. Why doesn't you have Skanska as one of your clients here?
That's a fair question. So with Skanska in particular, we are currently talking to them in the UK, and they're about solving a particular process they have on a global scale. So nothing is signed or delivered, so I can't go into, but we are talking to them. We have met with some Swedish companies. Now, the caveat I'll say is we've only really decided to do this since November, so we're early stages in our Scandinavian expansion. But we have spoken to Swedish companies, and the reaction has been very, very positive. And they gave the same thing that I said. They have individual tools that solve some of the problems, but they're paying multiple licenses, they have multiple logins, you know, different issues. So they're very excited about being able to bring them all under one umbrella. But we are, as I say, you bring up Skanska, we are currently speaking to Skanska in the UK.
All right. Any more questions? Otherwise, maybe you can finish up telling us where you're going to stand in 12 months from now.
There's only so much I can say, as I'm sure you understand. 12 months from now, we'll have seen the growth we're expecting. You know, you can see from our figures that we are, you know, we're not worried about our growth. Let's just say that. We want to have been starting to deliver projects in North America and Scandinavia, but increased our market share in the UK and the Middle East. They're all very different markets. You know, the Middle East is very much project-based market. UK is very much company-based. You know, you sell to companies, same in Ireland, but we want a presence. We want people on the ground selling in Scandinavia, in North America, with offices set up as well within 12 months.
All right. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.